So now let's scroll down to my model class. And I've already got this does collide method. And we've talked about how this one works, right? Haven't we? Pretty sure I did. Let's look at it. I have the 4 coordinates of 2 objects, right? My x, y, width and height, and x, y, width and height of the other one. How do I tell if they collide? Well, if my right side is less than your left side, we don't collide. If my left side is more than your right side, we didn't collide. If my bottom is less than your top, we didn't collide. If my top is greater than your bottom, we didn't collide. If all of those are false, well, we must be colliding. You follow that logic? Okay, great. So here I am in my model. Should I put my collision detection in my update or after my update? What do you think? How about we update Mario, and then after we update Mario, then we'll deal with collisions with Mario. Does that sound good? Okay, how do we deal with collisions? How about for int I equals 0, I is less than... I will not stand for improperly indented code. Okay, tubes.size I++. There, I'm going to visit all the tubes. And hey, while we're at it, we're supposed to use an iterator. You want to do that? What is an iterator? Excellent question. Iterator of, what's it called? Tube. I will rewrite this loop like this as I explain what an iterator is. It equals tubes.iterator. it.hasNext, it.advance. I don't know, I'll have to look it up. It's just next? Yeah. Okay. An iterator is something that runs through all of the objects in a collection. For example, an array list is a collection of stuff. And an iterator says, here's one, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. And all the collection classes in Java have a method named iterator, which returns an iterator, and you have to put the type of the thing you iterate over, which is the same thing as the type of the thing you're collecting in your array list here, in brackets. It's basically an object that has 2 methods, one called hasNext and one called next. HasNext asks the question, is there another one? And next gets it. Actually, I don't think I want to put it there. I want to do nothing there, and I'll just say tube t equals iterator.next, which means get the next tube from that iterator. And then here, I'll check with the collision. I'll say if does collide mario.x, mario.y, mario.width, mario.height with tube.x, tube.y, tube.width, tube.height. Then Mario.get out of the tube T. Now, if I did that right, I just solved all of my collision problems with these methods. Didn't add any new member variables, except for the prev(x) and prev(y). Kept it simple, and things are good. Question, why would anybody ever use an iterator? It actually uses even slightly more code than for int I equals 0, I is less than tubes.size I++. So why is the iterator line better than the loop? Well, yeah, we don't have to call size a bunch of times, but we do call hasNext a bunch of times. That is the answer. In Java, there are array lists, there are linked lists, there are hash tables, there are tree sets, there are a whole bunch of different kinds of collections. A collection is any class that allows you to put stuff in it and collect a bunch of them. Well, if you use iterators, and then you think to yourself, oh darn, I wish I had used a linked list because linked lists are more efficient for adding and removing objects, whereas array lists are relatively slow for that. You could switch this array list to a linked list, like that, and it would just work. You wouldn't have to go through your code and fix stuff up. Whereas, if you use this loopy thing, that only works with arrays. If you try to use the, unfortunately it does work with linked lists, but it shouldn't. The reason it works with linked lists is there's actually a method that gets the nth element, and the way it works is it starts at the beginning and it iterates all the way along the linked list until it finds the nth one and it returns it to you. It's horrible of Java to have even provided that functionality because people use it to shoot themselves in the foot. Imagine if you have a really long list and you're iterating across them all, and each time you're starting at the beginning and iterating to find the nth one. Bad, don't do that kind of stuff. So iterators are guaranteed to be an efficient way of visiting it, and they work for any collection type. So this requirement that you use an iterator is really simple. Just stick one of those somewhere in your code and you've met the assignment. The only point of it is you should be familiar with iterators. They're a useful thing. Use them when you can. But you know, if you use for loops instead, that's cool. For this assignment, you are required to use one iterator somewhere in your code because I say so. Okay? Well, I think I did it. Let's see if it works. Build. Yay, a bug. Cannot find symbol iterator. What do I do about that? Yeah, I think it's a import java.what, util? I'm guessing. We'll try it and see if I'm right. Dang it, I'm right. Okay. Java game. Here's my Mario. Here's some tubes. I run. Oh, that was weird. And he got stuck in the tube. I can jump out of it and he falls through the tube. This does not work. Yay, we have a bug to fix. Okay, let's try that again. It kind of sort of almost worked, but not really. Apparently it sucks him into the tube. What happens if I go here? It sucks him into the tube. Why does it do that? It pulls him into the tube. Okay, I have a bug. How fun. Let's work on finding this bug now. And okay, I've been coding in my text editor because that's what I tell you to do. I'm going to now switch to my, there's changes I haven't saved? What haven't I saved? Since I have unsaved changes, let's build again and see if there's still a bug. Okay, here's my Mario. I run along. Ooh, I don't know what happened. Huh? Now it works almost, except he pops up to the top of the tube. Okay, one of my unsaved changes did something, but it's not working quite right. There's definitely a problem here, and we have to debug it. Hey, it worked right for a moment. Huh. What is he doing? As long as I hold down my right arrow, he's stuck inside. As soon as I jump, he disappears and pops up to the top. Okay. Let's debug this problem. Now, just because a lot of you have been looking at my code as I wrote it, has anybody seen a problem? Save us a little effort. Wonderful, that means we get to debug it. Okay, I'm going to open my debugger. What's it called? Use Eclipse in this class? I think so. At this point, a lot of you would panic and say, oh no, I have a bug, this thing's due tonight, you'd be mad and things like that. Eventually, you'll get used to bugs. You'll realize that bugs are inevitable and debugging them is just a way of life. And then you won't panic. I'm not really panicked, but gee, it would be embarrassing if I can't fix this in front of you, so hopefully I can. Looks like I have a breakpoint set somewhere. Let's stop that. I see my breakpoints. There's one. Resources out of sync with the file system. Well, then sync it up. Okay. Let's remove that breakpoint. I want to disable, I want to remove it. There we go. And now we debug. Make sure it happens in my debugger. Yep, it does. That was not correct behavior. Now we need to figure out where to set a breakpoint. I'm pretty sure it's going to be somewhere in my model because that's basically where I did everything, right? Can we see it? Why doesn't it look like I'm inside of the tube? Yeah, remember the model gets to go first. The model moved me 10 pixels to the right, and now I'm inside of the tube. What you're actually viewing is the previous time it drew the view. So if it had gotten the chance to draw the view now, it would draw me inside of the tube. So this is kind of where my pre-Mario is, and my current Mario is inside of the tube, because it hasn't repainted the picture yet. Now, wait a minute. That 530 was supposed to be where my X over here is. Not there. I just realized what the problem is. Anybody else know? That's what it is. Okay, I'm going to go back to my text editor because for some reason when I edit inside of the Eclipse, I feel like it's getting out of sync with my code, and I like to control things a little stronger in my text editor. When I introduce you to diff mergers and version control, you'll finally realize why I do things in a text editor and why you should never trust an IDE. But for now, I'm just going to edit in my text editor because I do. Here's my problem. My collide assumes that your X and Y are the top left corner. Remember when I changed it to be my bottom right corner? I failed to come fix my does collide method. Or rather, I'm not using my does collide method correctly. If Mario X is the bottom right corner, I really need to feed in Mario X minus Mario.width. And Mario Y needs to be Mario Y minus Mario.height. Right? Therefore, I bet you that was causing all of my problems. The tube is still centered in the top left, the Mario's centered in the bottom right, because that's the way I did it. Now, if you want to avoid that problem, don't make your Mario centered in the bottom right. Or, don't forget and compensate. And those are kind of your choices. Now, there was a reason I did that, and so does the reason outweigh the potential for bugs? I don't know, you'll have to decide, and that's why programming's fun. It doesn't hurt to write stuff down. Feel free to get a notebook or a binder or dedicate at least a sheet of paper to this project, right? I mean, think about how much time you're spending on it. Draw some pictures, make notes to yourself of where stuff is, and that'll help you write better code. Or better yet, put it in your comments. Anyway, let's see if I fixed all my problems. I doubt I fixed them all, but I'm sure I fixed one of them. And if you fix one bug, you're that much closer to finding the next one. Here goes Mario. I run and he can walk into it and then he pops up to the top. And then he walks past the tube and then falls.
You're off by width.
I'm off by width somewhere. That's exactly what's happening. Plus, why does he pop to the top? That's what's supposed to happen. He's supposed to just bump into the tube, except I'm off by width. So apparently my tube is in a ghostly location.
I think your tube is a width of tube to the right.
Huh, I wonder why that is, though. Okay, let's go find out. And how about right here when we draw the tubes, we'll stop. Toggle the breakpoint. I stopped immediately. Why? Because it draws frequently, right? So I stopped. Okay, step over and I'll see what t is. Hey, there should be a local variable named t. Why isn't that showing up in my window? Show me t. Huh. Does your Eclipse show you the local variables? It should. I think I'm having problems with Eclipse. It's probably time for me to uninstall and reinstall. The good old-fashioned solution to everything. Well, darn. What do you do when your IDE doesn't give you the functionality it's supposed to? Run away. Ooh, look, I can hover over it. And it doesn't quite show me the value of t. Let's resort to the old-fashioned world's most powerful debugger. It's called print statements. System.out.println tube.x position tube.x equals plus integer.toString t.x. Integer.toString converts an integer to a string, so I can... I hate how helpful this darn editor is. Okay. Now I'm going to always know where my tube is because it's going to print it for me. And it's also going to hit my breakpoint. And it's still not showing me the tube. So I continue running. Not you, Ben. Okay, so I run, and let's see. My tube is at 556. Do you agree? Because I'm printing 556 to compensate for the failure of my debugger. Why aren't you working, darn debugger? I don't know. I'll have to fix it later. Let's suppose I'm at 556, and I want some other values. My Mario's X, I have a G and an I. What's I? I is 0 because it's the 0th tube. I'm also going to need to know where Mario is located. Let's see how much time I have. Okay, I have 10 more minutes. ToString model.mario.x. We now have more information. Please show me the new information. Notice the tube isn't moving, only Mario's moving. Does that make sense? That's how I coded it to work. Well, at this exact moment, let's take a screenshot. I will copy that to the clipboard. I will open that in my painting program because I want to measure exactly how many pixels is it from the left to right there.